Dwight's gonna grab the ferrets and we'll fit the scale after. It's gonna be an hour and a half, so I had to move that. This? I had to move that to the desk.
Seven buses are supposed to sail on the way to the
Yai da da ya da da. Yai da da ya da da. Da 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 ya da 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 da. Please all come closer. Please come close. Please take a chair if you need one, if you would like one. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem, Havaya Mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. We bless the name that lives forever. Here we are. I encourage the whole community to come a few steps closer, even though we walked here together. We paused 7 times to show our hesitancy to be here, our discomfort with the reality of being here. But we're here to support this beloved family and to remember the beloved being, Adele Warshawsky. A reminder to connect to this network, you may need to silence or turn off your phone. Now's a good time to do that if you haven't already. And as I sing this ancient wisdom text to bring us here, feels so appropriate to chant the words Ashes Chayil, a warrior woman, a woman of valor. Ashes Chayil nimtza v'rachok mipnimi batach balev bala v'shalal lo yechzar v'maltun tov v'lo ra kol yemei achayeh darshat zemer ufishtim v'tatz בחפץ כפיה. הייתי אני עוד סוחר, ממרחק תביא לחמה. תקם בעוד לילה, ותיתן טרף לביתה, וחוק לנערותיה, זם השדה ותיקחהו. בפרי חפת נתנה כרם, אוגרה בעוז מתניה. לטמטרותיה. תמה כי טוב שכרה, לא יכבה בלילה, נרה ידיה, שילחה בקישור, וכפיה תמפוף עליה. כפה פרסה לעוני, וידיה שילחה לעזרון, לא תרלבט המשלג, כי כל בית הלבוש שנים. מר דבימה עשתה לה, שש וארגמן לבושה, נודע בשערים בעלה, ושפרויים זקני ארץ, סדין עשתה ותמכור, וחגור נתנה לכנעני, עוז והדר לבושה, ותשחק ליום אחרון. כי יפותך בחוכמה, ותורת חסד על שונה, תופיע הליכות ביתה, ולחם עצלות לא תאכל. קמו בניה וישורה, בעלה ויהללה, רבות בנות עשו חיל, והטלית על כולנה. שקר אכן, הבל היופי, משיירת אדוני, תיפלה תנולה, מפרי ידיה, והללוה, ושרים מעשיה. May her deeds in the gates be her praise. May what Adele did in her life speak to the hallelujah of her being. We have so many stories to share. We're going to start with the stories from 3 of her sons and some of her beloved family in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, who couldn't be here but who have sent their words to be read. And as I chanted this alphabetic acrostic that lists all of these possibilities, the takam ba'od laila, she gets up while it's still dark. The lechem atzlut lo tochel, the bread of laziness she doesn't eat. How many stories and lives did she speed walk into? So we're going to begin with the stories of the family and then encourage additional stories that come to mind, that come to heart, that want to be shared, to also be shared here. And we're going to start with Adele's firstborn.
Hold on one sec. Yeah.
We're getting the transmission from the family in Israel, and then Dubi, whenever you're ready.
You can just do various whatever. Yeah.
Well, we got our first glitch. I was supposed to read the words from my mom's brother, Jerry. And Jerry, can't wait to see you. We're going to find your text and Donnie will read it. Hi to all my family in Israel. Shalom to all my family in Israel. My brothers and I were fortunate to have our mom and dad with us into our senior years. I say mom and dad because she carried a torch for him until the very end. Each time she felt pridefully about what one of her grandchildren was up to, it was accompanied with an expression of regret that her husband couldn't share her happiness. So this is a funeral for both of them. When I was growing up, I was a rebellious youth, and my parents openly expressed their disappointment in my quote-unquote underachieving ways at school. Yet, as I grew older, they, especially my mom, softened, embraced my unorthodox choices, and were very supportive in every way. My brothers and I shared many friends, and those friends and lovers became my mom's friends, with relationships that continued until the very end, and some of you are here today. All of us share our love and admiration for my mom's altruism and intelligence, exuberant spirit, and commitment to family and friends. But my mom was also my best friend. She was a constant in my life of going from here to there. I spent most of my life overseas somewhere, spending only a couple of months, very happy months with my family each year in the U.S. or Israel. But my mom always stayed in touch with me. And we kept in touch by postcard when I was a young kid and into my 20s, and then by email and WhatsApp, and even by satellite phone. In the ensuing decades, we always stayed in touch. Finally, when I settled in Taiwan, we spoke every day on the telephone. My mom and I shared a love of adventure. She stayed with me on my boats in distant corners of the world, Seychelles, New Zealand, Vanuatu, Bonaire. We were talking always about when she would come visit in Taiwan, but she couldn't travel really anymore. It never happened. But our greatest adventure by far began in 2010 when I suffered traumatic injuries confining, putting a hospital bed in her small Manhattan apartment and caring for me once again, as she did when I was just a helpless child, and now I was a helpless 55-year-old man. I stayed in her apartment with her for nearly 2 years. People wondered, how I could do that, but for me, they were the greatest years. As I strengthened my body again, my mom and I would go to concerts together. We would share our favorite novels and novelists. We took trains and buses together to visit with Don and Aaron, Ari, everywhere. It was a wonderful time, and it's a time that I'm so fortunate to have had with her. My misfortune turned into an opportunity to bond with my mom and my family. My life is now forever changed, having lost my mom and my best friend. And anyway, thanks everybody for coming.
Hi, everybody. I have found Jerry's words. My mom's younger brother who lives in Israel and couldn't make it, who couldn't be here today, but is certainly here very much in spirit. And I'm going to start by reading some beautiful words he wrote about his big sister. I am almost at a loss for words in regard to the passing of my dearly beloved sister Adele. Nobody could possibly have been blessed with a better big sister. She was incredibly generous and always ready to lend a helping hand. An outstanding family member, an extremely devoted daughter, an exceptionally loving and supportive sister, a loving wife who lost her Harold at far too young an age, a great mother to her 3 sons of whom she was so proud, a superb savta to her grandchildren who all loved her dearly, and everybody's favorite relative, be it aunt, sister-in-law, or whomever. She made friends very easily, always more interested in hearing their stories than talking about herself. Many of those friendships became lifelong ones. With her high level of intelligence and outstanding social skills, she could have succeeded in almost any field. That she chose to devote her boundless energy to helping the less fortunate was a tribute to her character, empathy, and big heart. I am so sorry I did not have the opportunity to see her recently, but we were in constant touch. I loved her dearly and will miss her immeasurably. Now I'm going to share some of my own words. We all get only one chance at life, and we all get only one mom. So much of what we can do in life, of how we live our lives, of whether we can find joy and happiness and love, and of how we handle struggles and sadness, depends upon the mother we have. And I was so lucky that I got my mom. All I ever knew from my mom was love and support. She always gave of her, all of herself for me, always supported me, and always made me feel special. From the time I was a little boy, she always made sure I was happy. She felt the pain more than I did when I hurt my knee and needed stitches on Mother's Day almost 56 years ago. She comforted me the day I got glasses in 3rd grade and came home upset because 2 kids told me I looked ugly. When I was little, if I got hurt or felt sick, I didn't believe my mom when she used to tell me she wished it was she who felt bad instead of me. But she taught me. She showed me by example how to love that way too. And my mom was so generous. She was always so giving. To my brothers and me, her children, she gave us every moment and every ounce of her soul. And she did that for others too. Professionally, she worked for years, first in New York and then in Israel as a rehabilitation counselor for people with profound disabilities. When her older brother, Billy, whom she loved so much, needed a kidney, she gave him one of hers. And he went on to live more than 20 more years. After my dad passed, after 44 years of marriage, and after surviving and beating lung cancer at the age of 75, my mom moved back to New York and spent the next 10 years volunteering and devoting herself to multiple groups of people in the city, especially taking pride in the work she did leading a group of young adult women with disabilities. And my mom always had so much energy. She walked faster than I did as an 80-year-old. And she was a voracious reader. Yet despite how smart and energetic and passionate and full of life she was, she also had this amazing ability to laugh at herself, to not take herself too seriously. She added on her fingers and laughed along with us when we laughed about it. These last few years, she finally started slowing down. But her love for her friends, and especially for her family, never waned. We would talk on the phone every day, and she always told me how blessed she was because she felt she had 3 wonderful sons. And in the next breath, every call, she told me again and again how I have 3 wonderful children. Her love for us really was boundless. And finally, because my mom isn't here to express this, I want to express for her how deeply and profoundly grateful I am for the way my brother Aaron cared for my mom these years. We all, me, Karen, Doobie and Fawn, our children, Mary, our nieces and nephew, all cared for and supported my mom as her life became harder the last couple of years, especially these past few months. But Aaron's dedication to her, the love and support he gave her, was miraculous, and it meant so much to her. And she just really loved him for that. And I'm so grateful for that too. My mom lived 91 fulfilling and often joyful years. I'm going to miss her forever.
Sorry.
Thank you everyone for coming. I also want to acknowledge everyone in Israel, loving family and friends who might be hopefully listening, and hopefully it's transmitting. This is a very tough time. I remember my mom was originally planning on being buried in Israel next to her husband and my father's parents and other family members. But I remember a few years ago, after she came to New Paltz, where she came here 6 years ago, she really fell in love with New Paltz and felt it was her home, which really was a wonderful thing for me to have her feel that she had another home, and she decided that she wanted to be buried in New Paltz. And I remember vividly bringing her here and picking out the space, and it's very profound and incredible, hard to imagine that here we are. My mom was so incredibly dynamic until the last year maybe, that I never thought this day would come, even though of course I knew this day would come, and it's very surreal to be standing here and remembering when we visited here to choose the plot. So that was all off script, but there you go. So now to on script. The last time that I spoke at anything commemorating or honoring my mom was her 90th birthday, which was a year and a half ago. And we were able to do that in the middle of COVID, thanks to Garvin, who's here somewhere. And it was a really beautiful, beautiful event. And then before that, her 70th birthday party, which was a surprise. And before that, her 65th birthday party in Israel, which was a month before my dad passed. It was a very hard time. And I remember speaking at that. I'm just going to take a few words from that speech and just reiterate them here because they're apropos. And so I wrote at that time, I said, "Mom, you are 65. It's amazing." Because we're all that age now. And I wrote, well, not all of you, but some of you. "You make that seem very young." It's funny I said that then, you know, you make that seem very young. Hopefully it is still very young, I don't know. "Your boundless energy is striking. We would all be out all day in New York City. And as we all flopped down in Donnie and Taryn's apartment on 104th Street, exhausted from walking around the city all day, she'd sit up on the couch, perked up, and say, 'Okay, guys, what do you want to do now?' And we're all like, 'What?' So that was my mom. And that stayed with her as she aged. She also directed all her energy outward, and my brothers talked a lot about that, so I won't go over all of it again. Her devotion in New York and in Israel to helping others. She was always there to help and support us when I had crises, when I was a teenager, when I broke up with my girlfriend and I was heartbroken. I really turned to my mom, and she was a confidant, and she always supported me. When I'd go visit Eric in Chicago, she would always say, "When can I go?" And she'd jump on a plane and we'd walk around Chicago. And as she aged, Eric and I and my mom would walk around, and Eric and I would forget that we were walking with my mom because we're walking. At that point, she's in her 70s, and we're turning around and we're realizing, holy moly, maybe she needs to rest, but she didn't really need to rest. I think one time she said to us, like, "When are we going to get there already?" She was getting older and only put 5 miles on or something. As a teen, I always confided in you, Mom. You always would listen to me. You were always very progressive. You were educated. You had a master's degree that you achieved later in life. And you always embraced a life of activity and commitment, even after your beloved Herschel died. After 10 years in New York, you moved to Woodland Pond. And that was 6 years ago. And even in Woodland Pond here, you were at that point, in the mid-80s, 85, and you still were very active in Woodland Pond during COVID, delivering meals to people who couldn't get their meals, going and visiting people at Woodland Pond who were sick in the health center, and you were always someone who that was a priority, and you modeled that. And I'd like to emulate that. I don't think I'm approaching how giving you always have been. You loved your groups, your play reader groups. You were always involved. You always had a zest for life. And everybody who knows my mom knows that about her. And of course, you were, I'd like to direct it to my mom, a voracious reader. You proudly, Mama, showed off the socks that Lola picked out for you, which said, "F off, I'm reading." Mom, your 6 years here in New Paltz were a blessing to our family. You became a part of our daily life. Seeing you with Lola and Eric the love and joy between you, the joy in your voice when I heard you speak to any one of your grandchildren whom you adored so much. It breaks my heart that we will not be with you in that way anymore. I will always cherish these years. Last year got tougher, Mom. You had to grapple with limitations, and that was hard on us, but especially on you. I'm so sorry that you were uncomfortable these last few weeks, but that struggle does not define you. You are defined by your spirit, your passion, your principles, your service to those less fortunate, and as a friend to such a large circle all over the world. You kept in touch with just about everyone till your last day. You refused to get your medications from the corporate pharmaceutical chain and insisted on paying extra so that Diedrich's could be supported. That was one of your principles in action. You are defined by your fierce love and devotion to your family in Israel, your brother Jerry, your in-laws Alan and Sheila, your loving nieces and nephews and friends in Israel and their families, all of whom love you so much. You have been intensely devoted to my two brothers and myself and my families and expressed your love to us daily. You had the deepest love for all your grandchildren, and that sparkle in your eyes twinkled whenever you spoke of them or to them. And you kept your love alive for your beloveds. You had a table of pictures of your brother and your sister-in-law Faggy and your cousin Ted and your husband on a table, and you would always point and say, "This is my table of beloveds." And it was so sad that they weren't able to share. Mom, the void that we feel is profound and deep. Our days filled with calling you and worrying about you and visiting you are over. And despite the fact that sometimes they were difficult times, they were always deeply meaningful. My heart is broken, but will mend with the love and respect that I have for you. Thank you for caring and loving all of us for so long. You left on what would have been Daddy's 95th birthday. My mom died on my dad's birthday. Join your beloved Herschel, whom you missed so long and so much. Join him now and rest in peace, Mama.
My dear mother-in-law, when I think of you, you are the kindest, loving, brave, delicate, and one who dare to express your own feelings. You are not just a role model and inspiration to me. I wish I was always envied to be receiving calls from you and say out loud how much you love and miss each other. I wish I could pay 1 million, just talk to my mom and dad and willing and tell them how much I love them. But we Taiwanese people just too shy to say that to each other. But because you know I dare to say when I want what I want and express my feeling to one I love. When I find out you have donated 1 kidney to your brother, it shows how much you were kind, delicate, and love to the family. I also want to thank you rushing to the hospital to the next day when my husband had car accident, helping recover and taking care of him. Mom, I wish I could show and prove it to you to be among your favorite daughters-in-law and make one picture of me on your refrigerator. I wish I could once again to say Lalato and Bogoto. I love you.
When I spoke with the family yesterday, we didn't know who would speak, who could speak, or whether or not we should bring pictures to this place. We're going to continue to share these snapshots, these perspectives.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for helping us today. I'm going to start with Sheila's words. Sheila Warshawsky, Adele's sister-in-law. I have the honor to speak Sheila's words today. I have to take a deep breath and summon the inner Sheila. Sheila, Adele, and I shared a lot of feminism talk over the years. So a lot of the things in here I know all about and can relate to. This is from Sheila in Israel. I have so many memories of beautiful times and events together with Adele. We lived many years together on Long Island and in Israel. Adele was an example to me of how to maintain a role as mother, wife, and homemaker, and yet be active in civil affairs, study, and subsequently have a successful career. And most importantly, Adele was always a sister to me. I can honestly say that Adele has been the binding force of my life. We began our relationship when I started dating Alan at age 15. When Adele and Harold and 2 sons, Doobie and Donnie, lived in Brooklyn. Then after Alan and I were married and moved to Oceanside, Long Island, Adele was a guiding light for me through motherhood, suburban life, and family relations. I especially remember the trips the 2 sisters took together. Spain, Switzerland, 2 matrons making their way together, sipping wine, and always laughing. We were actually kicked out of a wine tasting event for drinking too much and eating too many of their snacks. We lived near each other in Oceanside, Long Island, and then in Israel. It was wonderful for my children. So that's Jonathan, Tina, and Laura. To have Adele and Harold here with them. We shared so many holidays with the Goldfarb family. Seders
Rosh Hashanah and Omer, even Yom Kippur, Adele's family was our family. But most of all, I remember Adele's dedication and love for my family. Adele was a loving auntie to my children and grandchildren. It is admirable how Adele was able to make such deep connections with all of us, nieces, nephews, grandnieces and nephews, and all their partners. Adele was always there for us. I especially remember Adele coming from America to be with us when Laura was in the hospital. She had to stay home, broken coccyx bone after slipping on the rug, while we were with Laura in the hospital all day. When we came home, there was always a comforting hot supper for us, especially the lovingly made risotto. I wrote in January 2022, on the occasion of Adele's 90th birthday, Adele, I consider you my sister today, and you have always been a sister to me, however much stronger and deeper than the biological relationship. I know that I am the person I am today because of you. I have wonderful memories with you, and I am so glad that we married the Warshawsky brothers. We were supposed to continue our closeness together when we died, to be buried next to each other on Har HaMinuot in Jerusalem. I was supposed to buy you sewing supplies and help thread your needle, or vice versa, but you made other plans in New York to be close to your boys. And now you are here, and I promise that I will order whatever you need from Amazon. Thank you for being you and sharing your life with me. Love, Sheila. That was Sheila's message. I just want to share, I didn't write remarks, but I just want to share a couple of remarks. I feel like I'm in such a unicorn position with respect to Adele, because I'm not her blood relative, but I've known her my entire life, really. Not all 63 years, but 40 of them. And through law school, my career, getting married to Donnie, having 3 children, we had a lot of laughs and jokes between us that I'll never forget. And they go in both directions, both like things that she and I could say to each other and would know what it meant in a flash, or the same with Donnie and me about Adele. Because she was a force to be reckoned with, let's face it. And there were just moments when, she came in from Israel a lot to visit us at home with the kids growing up after Harold died. And one time she came off the plane in Newark, and Donnie brought her home, and she came storming into the kitchen and single-handedly went over to the oven and took the door off and said, I learned on the plane from the lady sitting next to me how to wash this stuff. I was like, hi. She was a force of nature. But thank God for all of that, because she helped me clean after Passover every year. And of course, all of you know she helped make Passover every year. And I thought she would have one more. I thought we could have one more. It's going to be hard, the next one, not to have her there. But one of the other funny things that we always used to say to each other is, because sometimes our Passover Seders used to be like 45 people, and we had to go out and buy more turkeys right in the middle of making 2 turkeys. We ran out and bought 2 more. And she would say, how many turkeys do we need to buy? Do we need more turkeys? But she was the greatest mother-in-law anyone could ask for. I'm in a position where I remember her evolution and my own with each other, and she really did move from a point in life very early on when we really first met. She had all the you gave her Mohs surgery, and her head was bandaged, and we were in Long Island. For the first time ever, I was meeting her with Donnie. And Donnie had the misjudgment of leaving the room, and I was there alone with her, and she said, with her bandages on, "Where did you do your undergraduate studies?" Well, I was in a job interview, but I got the job! It's amazing. All the way evolving to the point of being just so actually accepting of anything and everything, including meatballs, which have cheese. Adele, you have a piece of my heart with you. Goodbye.
So beautiful.
Hi everyone, I'm his wife, Mary, and I have a letter from Dina. She is Adele's niece in Israel, Sheila daughter. Dear Auntie, the last few days have been filled with tears mixed with smiles. The thought that I won't be able to call you on video, WhatsApp, to chat, or to give you a big hug, or just hang out together is heartbreaking. My mind is flooded with so many wonderful memories, our memories, that I will always cherish, which fills me with a sense of fulfillment. Throughout my life, I learned from you the importance of living life to the fullest, the significance of giving, helping, and sharing with others, but yet making sure you had time for your hobbies, your family, and your friends. Your energy and initiative was admirable. If something was missing, you made it happen. I remember various conversations in your kitchen in Jerusalem when you would tell Uncle Harold and myself that you are making a change so you would work and you would run around less to reduce pressure. And we always smiled and commented, yeah, sure. And sure enough, you took on yet another project. My family would say that I learned from the best, LOL. I will always, she says here, I will always jealous of your memory. I was always jealous of your memory. The ability to remember phone numbers, never need to check, even numbers of friends you hadn't spoken to in months, text for your drama club, and your people's names. I wish I was more like you in this aspect and not in our gifted mathematical abilities. Your presence was always so important. You made sure to look good and to be ready for an outing at all times. That's so true. Even if it was hours in advance. Yet another trait I'll try to adapt to my lifestyle. Now the time has come to say goodbye and to hold on to all the many things that I've learned from you and our special moments together. I want to believe you are now reunited with your loved ones, but especially with Uncle Harold and my sister Laura. I will truly miss you, and I will love you forever. Easy. And I'll just say a few things. The last 6 years, we've basically been living with Adele, going to Woodland Pond, spending many hours with her, having wonderful meals, going out to all sorts of things. She was always open up for anything. But during COVID, my relationship with Adele started to deepen. It was a difficult time for her, for all of us, but especially for her because she was alone in her apartment and everything shut down at Woodland Pond. So even the people that were there were not in touch. They would just stay in their apartments all day. And we were just really worried about her. It really took a toll. So what happened was I started making meals for her. If there's anybody here from Woodland Pond, you know that she hates the food at Woodland Pond. And we'd bring it over and then rush back and put Zoom on the dining room table. And Lola, Aaron, and I and Adele would have dinner together. And it really felt like she was in the room, you know, thank God for Zoom. And that cheered her up a lot. And then after COVID, we continued making food and bringing it over. And she loved my cooking. And she would tell me that almost every day. And she started telling me that she loved me. And I would tell her I loved her. We didn't really say that to each other that much at the beginning. But like I said, everything kind of changed and we started getting closer. And I'm so grateful for that. So happy that our hearts opened up to each other. And one more thing, Adele was the greatest Sakta, the greatest grandmother. And Lola knew that she was cherished and loved deeply by her and all of her grandchildren. And I'm forever grateful that Lola had a Sakta, wonderful as Adele. Thank you.
So now we can hear from anyone who got to call the Sakta. If anyone wants to share.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. Safi, I wish I could put into words how important you are to me. I really hope you knew. The memories that Lex, Talia, and I have with you from Montclair, 75th Street, and New Paltz are some of the dearest and most vital memories of our lives. You were a truly special person, so unbelievably and abnormally full of life and love for your family. You have been an inspiration and a role model to me my whole life with your speed reading, your cooking and baking, your long distance walking, which was practically an extreme sport, your love of laughter, and your ability to laugh at yourself, your devotion to other people, and your never-ending involvement in every community you have ever lived in. And although you shaped and influenced my childhood and upbringing in so many important ways, perhaps my favorite chapter in our relationship has been these last few years, when we started a new ritual of talking on the phone almost every single evening, even if just for a few minutes, about our days, what books we're reading, what we had for dinner, how wonderful your recent visits with my mom and dad were, what's going on in the NBA, and always hearing you say, I just love that LeBron James. I feel so lucky that I had some time with you at the very end of your life. I will never forget your last night, having dinner with Aaron and Mary on your deck at Woodland Pond, going through memories and laughing. I feel so lucky that I got to experience one last glimmer of your warmth, your joy, and your humor. And although I am still struggling to process what happened, I know that eventually I will be able to appreciate the blessing it is that I was with you in your final moments. And I only hope that even though I was so full of fear, that you felt how intensely I love you, and that you felt safe with me. I will miss you forever, my wonderful Sasha and my dear friend. I know you will rest in beautiful and joyous peace, wearing your blue eyeshadow and your bright pink lipstick, dancing and laughing with Abba. I love you. Thank you.
So I had prepared a few remarks, but in listening to everybody speak so far, I've been struck by how a few of the same things about Safta have been coming up over and over again. Her incredible energy, even towards the end of her life, her intelligence, her incredible compassion for everyone, but especially the boundless love that she had for her family and her old closest friends. Just coming through again and again, and the image that's been coming into my mind has been of the light that she had being scattered just a little bit differently, but similarly to everybody, like a prism or like a diamond. And it's I think appropriate because we've lost something very rare and precious when we've lost Safta. So just a few memories on some of those same themes. My dad's already mentioned her coming to Chicago and walking through the streets, how much energy she always had. And then when I went to college, she lived close by in New York City, and I would go to visit her, and I was the young college kid who is supposedly had a lot of energy, but she would always be telling me about she went to the Y to see this new performance there. She went to this underground jazz show in Washington Heights that I don't even know how she found out about. I'd be going back to college and taking notes from my Safta telling me about all these things going on in New York. And then of course it's been much commented on how incredible and inspiring it was her for other people, her work with people with mental physical handicaps, delivering meals to everyone else at Woodland Pond during COVID. And one thing that always struck me about those things was that she would always use the opportunity to express gratitude for how she was still able to do that, and capable of being able to help out others. And the most beautiful and important thing to her about how much energy she had and how capable she still was towards the end of her life was that she was still able to give that love and energy to other people. And then, of course, the love in particular that she had for her family, never missing an opportunity to call and check in and remind me that I'm cared for, how much she missed me, and how much she missed Lemon, her husband, and how she couldn't wait to see us all again. And I don't know, what happens after death, but I know that that light that she's brought and scattered to all of us is going to live on in our hearts and our memories forever. And I feel so grateful for having that time with her. Love you, Safta.
Talk about the time that she got to stay home.
I'm Lola. Okay. My sweet, beautiful, amazing Softy. I'm not usually a procrastinator, but I definitely hesitated writing this speech, because once I started writing it, I knew it would make your death real. I never believed this day would come, but unfortunately that is how life works. When I first heard the news of your passing, my heart shattered. My Softy, the funniest, most genuine person I've ever known taken from me. I want everybody to remember you as the woman who is full of life, ready to take on any challenge, a fierce, independent, selfless, active, and caring woman. My most recent memory of you was just the other night. You had asked me to do your nails, and I said yes. I didn't know it at the time, but that was the last time I would ever hold your hand, and the last time I would hug you goodbye, and the last time I saw you smile. I will never be able to call you on the phone or shop for you or visit you at the pond. Wherever you are right now, I hope you can see how much you are loved. I already miss the way you smell and the amazing fashion icon you were. I love you forever, and I'll always be your darling.
The Shiva will be a place to continue to share words, but the family felt it was important to open the mic now at this point because Adele burst onto the scene of so many of our lives. If anyone, a handful of more pictures of that are feeling called, please come forward and let us know who you are and how you knew Adele.
I'm Ari, her nephew. Being the youngest of my cousins, I didn't really have a lot to do growing up with Adele because I was a kid when my cousins were all off to college for the most part. So it was a very different generational thing. But when she moved back to New York, I was living in Manhattan, and we started to develop a bond which was amplified after my mother passed. And she made a point to me of saying that I don't want to replace your mom, but if you need a shoulder, I'm here. And reiterated that and called and threw her arms around me and gave me the opportunity to lean on her when I needed it. And we built a friendship. And we talked about lots of different things. We'd go to lunch and we just were dinners and we talked about so many things. One of the conversations we had was about the eventuality of today. And she said to me, she said, I don't want a funeral. I want a celebration. I want a party. I want people to, and you said, and if my boys are not up to it, I want you to be the MC. And I said, okay, Auntie, it's not happening. Let's not go there. Said, no, I'm serious. I want you to make sure that everybody smiles. I want you to make sure that everybody thinks about good stuff and celebrates. And everyone standing around here, we're all consumed by this loss. But in honoring her request, I encourage all of you to think about those moments that she did something unexpected, intentionally or often unintentionally, that put a smile on your face. Like stepping in a pothole, or any number of things. So you're stepping in a pothole, and next thing you know, there's Adele, because she's a klutz, and she broke something else. How do you connect to that? How does that bring a smile? Or she would sit there and totally embrace the idea of music. Music was so important to her, and it made her life fulfilled to such a point that I think the extra to your story was she went to these free concerts in Manhattan to listen to people play, and I'm not sure whether she liked the concert more or she liked sitting there waiting for the concert to start and talking to the people around her, because that was her thing. Yeah. She could talk to anybody and would talk to anybody, whether it was sitting in a room waiting for something or on a bus or wherever. She made friends everywhere she went. And she made friends with this woman, and she said, oh, I love jazz, and the woman said, you need to come up to my place. And invited her, and she had no idea what she was getting into. But she said, let's do it. She was always up for living that moment. And she walked into this townhouse, and it's just filled with people. And all of a sudden, they started playing music, and there's food everywhere, and they were jamming like crazy. She was so uplifted, brought so much joy to her. And I think about Auntie, and I think about the joy that she totally embraced, the joy she took in being a great, great aunt to my daughter, and the love that my little 7-year-old daughter has for her. That is a massive gift that she's bestowed on all of us. And that is the one thing that I wish that everyone after today can walk away from here thinking about those gifts. And I will say the gifts that she cherished the most are all sitting here. And there was never a conversation that I had with her that she did not relish every moment of telling me what every one of her grandkids was doing. Every week I'd have a conversation with her, and I'd hear every week what her grandkids were doing. Even if she was repeating herself, didn't matter. One of her favorite stories was telling me how so desperately after having Doobie and Donnie, she really wanted a girl.
Oh, no.
And she was desperate. And then when she gave birth, when she found out, she was a little depressed. And then she said to me, she said, "But Ari," I said, "I never, ever, ever have any regrets because that he was the greatest gift." She loved every gift.
Say she loved them more than me and Donnie?
Yep, absolutely. Well, no, just more than. No, but seriously, she loved every aspect of her boys, and you couldn't have a conversation with her without hearing about her boys, and then her grandkids. And it was always, and he's like, "Auntie, I really have to talk to you about something." He said, "But my boys, I got to tell you about my boys. They did this, they did that." There is so much joy that she exhibited every conversation. So take that joy. Take the joy that she always wanted to give and fill your hearts with, and allow that to wrap its arms around you and remind you of the beauty that she was to each of us.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by what you said.
Hello, my name is Felicia, and I met Mary in 1990. And eventually, after living so close to each other in all these years, I met Adele, and I was so excited to meet Adele. She was so effervescent. And then Lola turned 6, and Mary had a party for Lola, and she invited me to do a magic show. And Adele sat down right with the kids and watched this whole magic show. I felt like she was 5 or 6 sitting there with her granddaughter and all these beautiful children. And she came up to me after the show, and I felt like so blessed that I recognized in her this activated archetype of a clown, of a happy, incredible woman. And then a couple of years later, I have a ceramic studio, and Mary said, "Oh, how about I bring Adele and Lola over for a studio date?" And so Adele comes in the studio, and she sees in the corner I have a very old-fashioned electric wheel, and she said, "Felicia, you think I can get on that wheel?" And I said, "Adele, if you can get on a horse, you can get on that wheel." And she got right on that ceramic wheel, and she was so into it. She was so present with it. She was so fun and giggling. And I believe her first piece of clay, she didn't attach to that well, it went right across the room. We all had such great she made this little beautiful bowl, and Lola was so excited, and then Lola got on the wheel, and Mary never liked the wheel. She stood in handbill. We had just such a joyful time in the studio, and Aaron, I've always have loved you, and once I met your mom, you and your brothers, and being a clown for 35 years, and I see that she has that archetype, that incredible archetype of fun, such joy, and just such a pleasure to love her and to be loved by her. Every time I met her over the years, I always felt such an incredible kinship with her, like, wow, here is someone I really relate to. And so, God bless you, Adele. I know you're watching over us. You're another angel in heaven, watching us, holding our hands, laughing with us, and in all the realms of ways one can be loved, she's loving us all for all time.
So true. Oh, you or I laugh. What if you like to laugh?
My name is Alan Leon. I'm a friend of Aaron and Doobie's from childhood. I just want to say one comment that I saw Adele post on the computer one day when Doobie had a particular debonair photo of himself. Adele said, "That's some hunk of a man."
Maybe his memories never cease, and the stories to come in the coming days. A celebration and the mitzvah shel ahava, the act of love. We know this mitzvah of accompanying our dead is a truly altruistic one, because it's the least we can do to pay this mother, Safka, friend, inspiration, clown, extreme athlete. The last place I saw Adele was at a brass band concert. And I will forever remember her being one of the first people there and the last people to leave at Kol Chai gathering, talking to the people around her, rapt attention on the music, and cleaning up Kiddush cups before you could even put them down. So wherever she may be on this journey, wherever we are on this journey of life, we turn to chant El Malei Rachamim, to connect with that source of limitless compassion. Taking this moment to ask for any forgivenesses, any missteps, any moments we weren't as fully present in life as it seemed like Adele was fully present in her life. And we recall that not only did she leave on her beloved Hanan's birthday, but right around Rosh Chodesh Elul, the month, the new moon, leading up to the new year, a time of return, time of returning to the land of the soul. If you're incapable in body, please rise. El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Shekhinah במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אדל עדינה בת מרדכי ומרים שהלכה לעולמה אנא בעל הרחמים בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם יסיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים ויצור ביצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוויה שכינה היא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה. And he said, Amen. You may be seated. And we come to the mitzvah v'ahava of the actual burial, the actual internment. Each and every one of you here are invited to this mitzvah. There are a few customs around how we do this. The first shoveling is with the difficult side of the shovel, the top of the shovel. Again, to show our willingness and our hesitancy to be at this moment, and then you can turn and shovel a few shovelfuls. We also don't pass the shovel from one person to the next. So when you're ready, you can just put it back into the mound of earth. And again, we'll start with the same concentric circles. First, the children, and then children-in-law, and then grandchildren, and then each and every one of us. Return to the land of your home. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your home. Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul. Holy Stay with me. Stay with me. Every day of my life. Dawn, noon, dusk, midnight.
people lining up to show. It's amazing.
Please rise. The family will now have the opportunity to say Kaddish. I do have some, find out what you need, Donnie. Okay. And then because it is Elul, because it is the month leading up to Rosh Hashanah, we'll also hear the shofar, the ram's horn, which is in and of itself a prayer. It's a cry. It's a call to open our hearts in the way that Adele would have wanted us to live, with open hearts, open minds, open eyes for l'chaim, for life. Yisgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah ve'alman dibrach pirotei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol be'Yisrael ba'agala ubizman karib v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach me'olam elamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal. Shmei d'kudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. Zichrona livracha. May her memory be a forever blessing. And now all but the family will form two lines facing each other, a corridor from where we entered the tent back towards the hearse. Two lines facing each other with like an aisle for the family to pass through. And this will close the gathering here. And all are invited to the Shiva house at 109 Marrakill Lane immediately after this.
Sorry, I thought you were... You look kind of like that kind of guy.